Hello and welcome to WRXs. My name is Awais, and today I wanted to give you a recap on what happened yesterday, which was my fourth dyno day. And I will be honest, it didn't go quite as expected. A lot of things on this channel seem to go that way these days, but I wanted to give you guys a recap of exactly what happened. Now, a big thank you to Ecotech and Boosted Performance for taking the time to help me with this build and help the channel. They have been nothing but supportive, and honestly, I can't say good enough things about either of them. But the car hasn't exactly been running. It's hard to say. The car has been fine, but there's been some issues. Now, some of the things that we wanted to fix yesterday was Frankenpipe, which is my custom-made jpipe. It is actually a Invidia. It was an Invidia catalyst jpipe from a VA WRX that we cut and added a Jesse Cat to make it EPA compliant. And of course, it is running my also cut and welded MAPerformance catback. Now, what we thought was the issue was the flange. What we actually did was we cut the factory J-pipe flange off of the factory J-pipe and put it on this, and thought maybe there were some issues. Now, this was 2 dynos ago where we were running into an issue where we just weren't able to make more power. Now, it turns out all of the aftermarket J-pipes I got, or the aftermarket J-pipe flanges I got, were slightly smaller than the factory flange. So that seemed like it really wasn't an issue, so we ended up not putting it on. I still am not sure if that helps or hurts. It doesn't seem to make much of a difference either or. Now, the 93 tune that I had on this car from the last dyno day was, I definitely had some issues with it. The car was not really responding the way that Graham wanted it to respond. And I noticed I definitely had some dam drops. I had some issues with it, so I just never really used it. I had a E40 blend E-tune that I got from him, I think a day or two after my dyno day, which is pretty much what I've been using. And you guys saw when I was on the autocross day, that's what I ended up using that day. And it ran perfectly, no real issues with that. So I never really used the 93. So on that same day, we actually started running into some more issues. The car was giving us errors, a lot of codes that it was running lean or running rich. And that's kind of where the things started going weird, because once we got the car back on the dyno to do another 93 tune, it was really hot, like 93, 95 degrees, and the car just wasn't really responding. So the most we were able to make was like 317, 320 horsepower. Now, of course, the tune will compensate for colder temperatures and that power will go up, but like I'm not too worried about the 93 tune anymore. I wanted to see if we could surpass what we had on our ethanol tune. So today, or yesterday, I brought some extra ethanol. We went with the E45 blend. Now, those results were also not great, but not because of the tuning, but I think there was a boost leak somewhere, because Graham was seeing a bunch of things in the logs, and even Adam was saying that he was experiencing certain weird sounds and weird results in the car, and it showed, because like even after we got to a certain point, we got to about 350 horsepower, and there were some issues with the next pull where, you know, the wastegate was closed, but like the turbo just wasn't making power, or something was going wrong. And you know, we thought that maybe there is a boost leak, and that was definitely something that Adam said pretty quick, actually. Like, I'd say right at the beginning, he was like, I think there's something going wrong, I think there might be an issue. They also looked towards the Perrin diverter valve, which, you know, there was no way to know directly at that point whether that was the issue. So we got the car off the dyno. We took it back to Ecotech, because their dyno is actually not at Ecotech, it's next door. And we ended up doing a smoke test, and it turns out that the O-ring in the MAF was leaking, like massively leaking. I had no idea. So we ended up changing that, did another smoke test, and everything was fine. So my instructions were to come home, try to put the stock bypass valve on, and just to see if it makes a difference. So what we were running into was, on the dyno, the AFR learning was sitting right at 25 at idle, and idle was really rough, and even right now idle is pretty rough. But then on wide open throttle, everything was fine. So it's like we couldn't pinpoint exactly what the issue was. Now, fast forward to last night, I was able to take the Perrin diverter valve off and put the stock valve back on, and also I took the bumper off. I checked everything. I checked every pipe that I could, and I mean, to my eye, to my ears, nothing. Now, after changing the diverter valve, what's interesting is now, instead of having a 25 AFR, which is is a lot of overcompensation of fuel. The AF learning went to 0, but now the AF correction is up to 34 on idle, which I don't really know what the deal is anymore. So I've been talking to Graham last night, trying to figure out exactly what the issue is. What we're going to do is actually, in a little bit, I'm going to head back to Ecotech after checking and redoing almost all of the intercooler couplings, the charge pipe, or in this case, the pipe that's coming off the turbo. I checked everything. I redid the intake. I cleaned the intake. I cleaned the MAF. I rechecked everything. So we're going to go back and do another smoke test. Once that's done, I'm going to report back to Graham, let him know what the results were, and then he'll probably try to maybe give me another map to see if it helps. Right now, I have no idea what's going on with the car. And the reason why it's an issue is it affects vehicular acceleration testing videos, which kind of sucks because we don't really want to drive it if it's not 100%. This Sunday we had autocross. I probably am going to end up having to skip autocross, which is fine. It's not a big deal. More will come, but you see everybody else making these car videos, getting their cars all sorted out, and my car over here is just giving me a lot of trouble. But I think at the end of the day, it is important to remember that this car has been through a lot. We've thrown a lot of parts at it. What we were hoping was good supportive mods, with the inlet and the diverter valve. And not saying that there's anything wrong with those parts. Right now, this is a discovery phase. We have to find out what the issue is before we can correct the issue. And, I will do my best to remain optimistic about the situation. And, I'm sure we'll figure it out. It's only a matter of time. There's only so many things it can be. And the sooner we can get it sorted out, the sooner we can move on to the next stuff. I know people have asked me if I'm going to do a turbo kit. I don't know. I have no idea if I can upgrade the turbo yet because I can't even get the damn car to do regular stuff, right? There's definitely a couple of other options. Like the Brembos are available. Ecotech does have Brembos for me, but I'm not sure if that's the route we're going to go right away. I would like to, but there is still some cost associated with that. Though we are getting a very good deal on it, I have to think about that. I would like that, at least at the bare minimum. I think the SCI transmission is something I will hold off on because my transmission for now is fine, and of course I'm not pushing 450, 500 torque like most people are. I think it might be okay. But everything else, there's some, I've been trying to this has been a long-term project of trying to get graphics on the car, and that still hasn't really happened. But right now we're going to focus on getting the car running well, and then trying to make a little bit more power, and then we'll just take it from there, really. And most of the day yesterday, it, just like the last Dyno day, you're there, you spend time, people give you time, you get on the dyno, you try to do something, and sometimes it just doesn't happen, And I have definitely seen other people post their dyno results and the power their car's making. That's really great. But we have definitely run into some issues. But I think it is important that you guys see these issues because any number of you could have these issues in the future. And with the car and the platform still being real and new, you're not seeing a lot of people with issues. They're throwing bolt-ons on, going about their way. There's definitely more to talk about in the coming months when we see more people have problems and there's more aftermarket parts. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.